Hey guys, have I got something neat to show you today? All right, you ready? Do you know what this is? Take a good look. You can't feel it, but I can tell you it's sticky. Get that, it's got lots of neat shapes on it. Kind of repeats. Okay, we're gonna make something to eat with it, so that's kind of another clue. Comes from outside. Did you guess? Do you know? I'm gonna let my friend Patrice tell you.
The bees have worked hard and they've made lots of honey for themselves. We didn't get to extract or harvest a big jar of honey from them, but I think we'll cut a piece off here so that we can taste it.
Right, so it's honeycomb, right? From a beehive. A beehive is where bees, honeybees, live. It's where they raise their babies. It's where they make honey. And, you know, bees eat honey, but so do people. Have you ever had honey? Bet you have. Have you ever tried honeycomb? Yeah, some people eat the comb, the house, the bee's house. People actually eat the honeycomb itself. So if you ever have a chance, I recommend trying it. We're gonna look at what that's like today, but we're also gonna just talk about how you can enjoy regular honey without the comb. So our ingredients for today are honey, made from the bees that live in this hive. And we also have bread. We also have something special from our friends at Whole Foods. I asked them, what do you think would be a really good cheese to have with honey? And they suggested Gouda. But if you don't have Gouda, that's fine. I've enjoyed cheese with honey, all different types of cheese. So whatever you've got, I say give it a try. You might be surprised at how good it is. And if you have any questions about cheeses and want some recommendations, there is a lady named Allison at Whole Foods, and she would be happy to answer your cheese questions. All right, so to make this yummy, cheesy honey toast, we're gonna need an adult's help because we're gonna use the oven and a knife. So you're gonna need a knife to slice up your bread. You're going to need to either grate or slice your cheese pretty thin. And then you're gonna need a baking sheet so that you can broil this in the oven. All right, so once our bread is on our pan and it is topped with cheese, we're gonna take it and put it under the broiler. And that means the oven is super hot. So one, we need an adult to help, and two, it's gonna cook really, really fast. So it can go from being delicious and bubbly to burnt and yucky very quickly. So we're just gonna need about, say a minute, maybe two under the broiler. All right, so when your adult helper gets that hot pan out of the oven and they get you a couple pieces on a plate, let them cool off a little because the cheese is really hot and it's bubbly and melty and delicious, but you do not want to burn your tongue. So all you have to do then is take your honey, give a little drizzle. You might want to just start with a little since it may be something new. And if you are lucky enough to have some honeycomb like I do, you're just gonna kind of cut a little piece off with a butter knife. And then you're just gonna spread it on your toast like you would jelly or any other yummy thing you like to have on your toast. All right, so eating honey with cheese may be something that you've never tried before. Well, I have, but I've never had honeycomb, so I'm getting ready to try it for the first time. Here we go. so delicious. Sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full. That is so good. Thank you, bees. Our story today is Please Please the Bees by Gerald Kelley, published by Albert Whitman and Company. Benedict was a creature of habit. He liked to do the same thing every day. Every morning he woke up at the same time. Every morning he stretched, he scratched, he yawned a great yawn. Every morning the bees delivered 3 jars full of honey. Benedict ate the same breakfast he'd eaten since he was just a fuzzy cub. Toast with honey and tea with extra honey. Next came his daily routine, practicing, perfecting his honey cake recipe, knitting, and running errands. At night, he'd read, then have one last cup of honey tea before bed. Life was sweet. Until one morning, things were not the same. In fact, something terribly unsame had happened. There was no more honey. The bees had gone on strike. Benedict's breakfast wasn't the same without honey. Without his honey tea, he couldn't knit. Practice was dreadful. He didn't even bother with the errands. Benedict became deeply discouraged. Just then, he heard someone say, "Hey you, in the fur coat!" It was a very small bee with a remarkably loud voice. "We need to talk," said the bee. "Talk, humph," grumbled Benedict. "I let you all live in my yard. All I ask for are a few jars of honey. You should be grateful, not go on strike." "A few jars," said the bee. "Buddy, we deliver 3 jars of honey to you every day, every month, every year. Do the math." "The hive is a wreck," the bee continued. "It's all we can do to keep the walls from falling in. The roof leaks. Wind blows through the cracks. The last 3 queens up and quit on us because of the lousy working conditions." The bee showed Benedict the garden. "Look," the bee said, "weeds everywhere. We have to fly miles away just to find enough flowers to make our honey. So we voted to strike." "You're taking us for granted," the bee declared. "You want honey? Things need to change. It's up to you, bear." And with that, the very small bee flew off. The thought of losing his honey sent a chill down Benedict's spine. He had a lot to think about. "Maybe I've been too selfish," Benedict said to himself. "I never thought about what the bees need. But how am I going to make this right?" So he did some research. He did a little shopping. And he did a lot of work. Benedict even learned how to harvest honey. "I suppose it's a bit rude to expect them to do it all themselves," he thought. Finally, he was ready to show the bees all the work he'd done. What would they think? He held his breath as he waited. Then he heard the remarkably loud voice of the very small bee. "Drop the signs, girls. Time to get back to work." These days, Benedict is still a creature of habit. He still has his daily routine, but he doesn't take the honey for granted anymore. He knows his life is sweet, but now it's even sweeter. For everyone. The end. All right, so Benedict did some research to see how he could help the bees. And if you want to do some research about bees, oh, the library has you covered. There are so many books about bees and how they live and how they make honey and how they help us, because you know what? They do a lot more than just make honey. So we've got, for example, the life cycle of a honeybee. It's got lots of great photographs. You can learn all about the life cycle. We have, for example, How Do Bees Make Honey by Melissa Stewart. It also has lots of photographs, a lot more words. And then there is The Honeymakers by Gail Gibbons. Now this one is a little different because it tells not just about the bees, but about the people that help the bees. So like my friend Patrice that gave us the honeycomb, she's a beekeeper. And so what that means is, if you see a beehive, you're not just gonna run up to it and grab some honey or try to get some honeycomb, because you could get stung. But there are special people, like on the back of this book, beekeepers. They wear special gear and they're able to help the bees and harvest honey. So this book tells about the bees, but it also tells about the people. And then last but not least, those are all nonfiction, but this little book right here called The Honeybee, it tells a lot of the same information, but the illustrations are so cute. Just have to show you one. Tells about how bees need flowers to make honey, right? Because they get nectar from the flowers and then they turn that into honey. But look how cute. A bee, it says. So you can also learn real facts about the honeybees from this book, The Honeybee by Kristen Hall. You can also check out Honeymakers by Gail Gibbons. That's this one. And so many more. I had trouble picking just one book. I really wanted to read this one because it has such cute pictures. But I wanted to read Please Please the Bees so that you can think about how important it is, how important bees are to us, and not just for honey. So, with all that being said, we're out of time, and I'll see you next time.